Okay, chapter 17, bankruptcy. Roman numeral 2b. So, all bankruptcy cases start by the filing of a petition. What's a petition? It's a document filed by an attorney on behalf of a client they're representing. Okay, so that's how a bankruptcy case gets started. Where is it filed? We know that bankruptcy cases commence in a federal court. Okay, notice that there's no requirement for insolvency. What do you mean by insolvency? Insolvency, loosely defined, is that a debtor is unable to pay their debts. You don't have to make a showing that you're unable to pay your debts. Okay. So, voluntary petition. What's the difference between a voluntary petition and an involuntary petition? Well, voluntary means I'm choosing. The debtor can choose, whether it's an individual or a business, to file for bankruptcy. So, any debtor can file a voluntary petition. But there's also a mechanism by which a creditor or creditors can file an involuntary petition against a debtor. That typically happens when creditors are not getting paid by the debtor, and for whatever reason, the debtor is not filing for bankruptcy itself. So there's some requirements that the bankruptcy code establishes to protect the debtor. So again, the requirements are based on the number of creditors. Again, the number of unsecured creditors that a debtor has. So again, I'm strictly speaking about the involuntary petition, a petition filed by a creditor to put somebody that owes them money into bankruptcy. So we begin with 3A. What happens if the debtor has fewer than 12 creditors? Then there's only one requirement, and it's a threshold dollar amount. Any creditor with an amount owed to them of at least $15,325 can file an involuntary petition. That involuntary petition will survive a petition for dismissal by a debtor. So again, as long as that number, that threshold dollar amount, gets to $15,325, then the involuntary petition can go forward. So again, the example that's given as part of 3A is what happens if a creditor is owed $10,000. Okay, well, alone, that's not good enough. That creditor is going to have to find other creditors to join in that petition to get the amount to exceed 15 or to equal or exceed 15,325. Okay, what does subparagraph B says? Subparagraph B says, okay, if the debtor has 12 or more unsecured creditors, then we still have that minimum debt requirement. So we still got to get to the 15,325. But the bankruptcy code adds an additional requirement. Okay, so we still have the dollar amount threshold, but now there must be at least 3 creditors that join in the petition as well. And again, the rationale there is provided that if there's only 1 or 2 creditors that are not getting paid, probably the cause is something other than bankruptcy. Maybe it's a contract dispute. So go handle that in the regular court. Don't use the bankruptcy court to resolve what's really a contract dispute. So if you will look at homework number 12, and I realize you may not have that in front of you, so you can hit pause on the video, but we're going to look at question number 5 on homework number 12. Okay. So if you've got that in front of you, here's the fact pattern. We've got Dave. Dave is an unsecured creditor of Bag Company. Bag Company owes Dave $16,000. Bag has a total of 10 creditors, and they're all unsecured creditors. So there's 10 unsecured creditors. Bag is not paying its creditors. Under Chapter 11 of the Federal Bankruptcy Code, which of the following statements is correct? Now notice this. Right now we're under the material that says Chapter 7 liquidation. But let me point this out. These requirements for the petition, involuntary versus voluntary, apply whether it's a Chapter 7 proceeding or a Chapter 11 proceeding. Okay, so again, back to the fact pattern about Dave. So, all right, so first of all, we say, how many unsecured creditors does Dave have? 10. Is 10 less than 12? Yes, it is. So, okay, how many requirements are there under the bankruptcy code for this involuntary petition to go forward? One requirement. The threshold amount of $15,325 must be met. How much is Dave owed? $16,000. Is $16,000 greater than $15,325? Yes, it is. So, can Dave, acting alone, file an involuntary petition in bankruptcy against SPAG? And the answer is yes. Dave, acting alone, only has to get to that amount, that threshold amount of $15,325. He's owed $16,000, so Dave can file an involuntary petition. He doesn't have to go out and find other creditors who also are not getting paid. So the correct answer for that question number 5 on the homework number 12, is D as in David. Okay. Let's stop there.